Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply personal memoir that perfectly captures the resilient, fiercely independent spirit of an American pioneer woman. We're looking at the life of Abbie Ardelle Carringer, though everyone just called her Della. And, this isn't just a dry list of dates and places. It's really a profound blueprint for how to build a lasting legacy, told straight from the perspective of an 81-year-old woman looking back on a life full of adventure, intense heartbreak, and ultimate triumph. Picture this. We're instantly dropped right into the living room of an 81-year-old Della Carringer as she passes her life's wisdom down to her granddaughter, Betty. You can almost feel the intimacy of this, right? Della is asking Betty to pull her chair close because her eyesight is fading, but her desire to connect, to make sure her history doesn't just disappear, is stronger than ever. She wants to look right at her granddaughter's face as she hands down these absolutely essential life lessons. Section 1. The 1943 Living Room. So we're anchored in a San Diego home she actually built decades earlier with her husband. Her great-grandson, Randy, is asleep in the other room, and Della feels this immense driving urgency to impart the lessons of her frontier past. It's late 1943. She's sitting in her parlor, and she admits that the ongoing war worries her terribly, especially when she thinks about all the young men fighting overseas. She wants Betty to know, deep down, that they come from resilient people who faced incredible hardship and just kept going. She's essentially using this family history as a shield and a comfort for her granddaughter. Section 2. A Restless Frontier Childhood. Talk about a life on the move. Della's early years were defined by relentless movement, which was really driven by the restless ambition of her father, Devier James Lamphere Smith, or DJ as he was called. Looking at this timeline, you see a family migrating continually westward, always chasing new opportunities. She was born in Wisconsin in 1862, and by the time she was a teenager, they had bounced from Iowa down to Kansas, up to Nebraska, and then back to a little summer place in Wano, Kansas. Her father was always looking for that next big thing, and honestly, that lifestyle instilled a deep understanding of adaptability and pure grit in Della. And here we see two massive influences on young Della. By observing her father's livery stable, surrounded by the constant smells of hay, horses, and leather, she learned exactly how a business operates. She learned the importance of keeping your word and practicing fair business. But on the flip side, watching her mother, Abbie, work as a milliner, literally turning fabric, ribbons, and feathers into beautiful hats, well, that seeded Della's future financial independence. Her mother had her very own money from that trade, which was an incredibly rare and powerful example for a young girl growing up in the late 19th century. Section 3. Love and $20. Clearly taking after her mother, Della was teaching piano to earn her own money in Wano, Kansas, when she met a carpenter named Austin. And I love this part, they didn't rush into anything. They actually spent 3 whole years courting. They met while performing in local theatrical productions like Lady Audley's Secret and The Dairyman's Daughter. Della noted something really fascinating. She said pretending to be other people on stage actually lets you see someone's true heart. That's how she fell in love with Austin's kindness and steadiness. What's more, they were true equals. They both owned their own adjacent parcels of land, saving and carefully planning their future together as true partners before finally marrying in 1887 at age 25. Now think about this immense leap of faith they took together. Just 1 month after their wedding, they sold their Kansas land, hopped on a train heading west, and arrived in San Diego, California. And get this. They had exactly $20 in their pockets to start their entire lives. $20. It is just a staggering display of courage and partnership. They had practically nothing, but they were young, they were willing to work hard, and most importantly, they had each other. Section 4. Sorrow, Faith, and Joy. Their new life in California brought early success. Austin found work as a carpenter in a rapidly growing city, and Della taught art and music. But this idyllic new beginning was soon tested by unimaginable tragedy. In August of 1889, they were just overjoyed by the birth of their first son, named Devere David, after both of their fathers. The local newspaper even announced him as a 9-pound, bright-faced boy. But tragically, this joy was short-lived. The child passed away the following spring, before he was even a year old. As Della tells her granddaughter, she simply cannot even begin to describe the sheer grief of that time. This profound, devastating loss impacted them differently. Austin took it incredibly hard. He actually turning away from his faith after the death of his infant son and never quite returned to it the way he had been before. Della, however, while openly admitting her faith was sorely tested, managed to hold on to hers. It's a really raw, honest glimpse into how deep grief impacts a marriage, even a strong one. Then, in November of 1891, the birth of their second son, Lyle, beautifully restores their world. Della admits they were overjoyed, sure, but also deeply frightened. Frightened to love too much and hope too much after their previous heartbreak. But baby Lyle thrived. He became the absolute center of their resilient world, eventually growing up to give Della her granddaughter, Betty. Section 5. Building a California Life. Over the next 5 decades, Austin and Della formed this powerful, dynamic partnership to physically and financially construct a thriving life in San Diego. Just look at this balance. Austin used his hands and his skills as a carpenter to literally build them a fine 2-story house from the ground up. Meanwhile, Della absolutely shattered the gender norms of her era by managing all the money, keeping the books perfectly straight, and actively buying and selling real estate when the opportunities were right. As she notes, she always had a head for business, and she absolutely never sat idle. Piece by piece, they cultivated that California land and built a true home. They bought lots on 30th Street and Watkins Avenue. They raised chickens and grew their own fruit and vegetables, really taking full advantage of the California climate. Della even designed custom furniture that Austin would then build for them. And in a really beautiful display of family unity, they welcomed Della's widowed mother, Abbie, into their home in 1894. She lived with them through all the good times and the hard times for decades, right up until her passing in 1931. I absolutely love this detail. This beautiful 1937 newspaper headline celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. Honeymoon trip to SD extends half a century. It honored a couple who lived on the exact same spot for over 55 years, which, if you think about it, is a striking contrast to the nomadic roaming of Della's childhood. From that exact corner, they literally watched San Diego transform from a dusty little town into a major, bustling city. Della proudly told the reporter that they worked hard as partners and always tried to be kind to others. Section 6. A Grandmother's Legacy. Bringing us right back to that winter evening in 1943, Della distills her 81 years of grit into these core lessons for Betty to carry forward. First, stand on your own 2 feet, always contribute, just as she did with her real estate and bookkeeping. Second, make room for beauty, art, and music. She deeply believed a life of only work and worry is incomplete. Third, when you face hardship, remember you come from resilient frontier stock who kept building and loving through it all. And finally, her belief that the absolute best religion is simply to work hard and be kind. As she reaches out and holds Betty's hand, her own fingers weathered but still strong, Della says, "That's my story, dear girl. Now it's yours to carry forward too." And honestly, it reminds us that the ultimate purpose of building a life is passing the torch to the next generation. All the property, the hard work, even that original $20 they started with, it all comes down to the people you leave behind. As we wrap up this explainer of Della Carringer's extraordinary journey from the restless pioneer Midwest to a thriving, permanent California legacy, I want to leave you with this to reflect on. What lasting foundation are you building right now for those who will follow you? And what story will you carry forward?